Mike, turn your games down.
Hi everybody, welcome to another comic episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who is shooting arrows into the sky with me tonight?
It's everybody's favorite marksman, Kenneth Sanity, here once again with another comic book episode. Woohoo!
And you know what? This one doesn't have B in the title. There's no B.
It's not Batman. I'm so excited.
So we are here to talk about Hawkeye, My Life as a Weapon, which is the first 5 issues of Hawkeye by Matt Fraction, David Aja, 2012 run, which is this run is the show heavily, it was inspired by this run.
Heavily inspired.
We're going to talk about the show too, some at the end of this.
So if you haven't watched the show, there may be minor spoilers, there may be heavy spoilers. We haven't really planned this out too much.
No. I'll warn again when we get there. You can enjoy most of this, and then we'll talk about it. So I had actually, one thing I do need to say is this is what I consider one of the lost episodes. I have made, if you listen to everything I publish, which if you do, God bless you. I had mentioned off and on about a Hawkeye episode. I'd make comments, oh, bro, and we'd make jokes, me and Mike did. We recorded this back in 2020. My guess is April. No, probably not. Maybe May or June of 2020 before I lost one of my co-hosts. And this was one of the episodes that I lost after that and I deleted. And I have been slowly meaning to get back to this. And finally, as of March in 2022, depending on when you hear this, probably it won't be March. I can tell you that much. Kenneth had mentioned we should cover this again. So we're going to finally cover one of the 3 leftover lost episodes that I deleted and never re-recorded in 2 years.
And boy, let me tell you, I'm glad to be a part of it.
I was glad to reread it. So this comic is very stylized too, I have to say, and it ran for 22 issues. I actually have read all 22 issues 2 years ago. I did not read them again, but I was surprised how stylized this comic is. Like, the art is very good.
I really like it. There's a lot of heavy blacks in here. A lot of emphasis on shadow and detail, but with minimal line work.
Yeah.
Like, I really dig it.
In this comic, Hawkeye's not wearing his classic costume, so it's already a thumbs down for me, but I can live with it. I'm okay with this costume. It's just the regular... It's kind of what you see in the show, too. I mean, it's what you see in many more current things. Ultimate Avengers, he's in a black suit with a purple arrow on his chest piece. That's it. And sunglasses.
Like, there's a reason for him not having his suit. Like, this is what Hawkeye does on his days off.
I love that suit, though.
I know, but, it's kind of bulky to be wearing around if you're just, having a day off and doing some, non-Avenger things on a day off.
So it starts off with him falling out of a window and shooting an arrow upwards is what you first see. And that's how this comic starts. And I like it. I got to read these first couple lines. He says, you cowboy around with the Avengers some. Guys got what armor, magic, superpower, super strength, shrink dust, glow rays, magic, healing factors. I'm an orphan raised by carnies, fighting with a stick and a string from a long time ago era.
And like, that's pretty close to the beginning. The first main story panel is Hawkeye falling out and the words, okay, this looks bad. You will hear this again.
Many times.
Because this is like how every issue starts in this chunk.
Ass beat in this whole run, by the way. It doesn't stop.
Yeah, like he has no backup. He is just Hawkeye. He's got bow and arrow, and he doesn't have his backup really with the Avengers. And he gets fucked up.
Yes, he does. Like, and it shows him fall and hit a car, and he says, "I promise you, it feels worse." And then it cuts back 6 weeks later. Or no, then it shows him in a hospital, all broken. They tell him, shatter pelvis, 3 broken ribs, sprain your neck, crack your fibula, left clavicle, right ulna, and your spleen nearly ruptured.
So that's what happens to the not super soldiers, not billionaire playboy philanthropists that have a metal suit. Like, this is what happens to the real dudes.
He just gets completely fucked up. And then it kicks 6 weeks later where you see him, again, of course, wearing a purple shirt, being, taken out of the hospital in a wheelchair. And for some reason, he decides to kick the wheelchair into the street and get out of it. So, and he gets by a car.
I mean, you gotta show off a little.
And the thing about this comic is it jumps around a lot, especially in this first issue where you see that, and then it jumps to him at a veterinary with a random dog. He's in a rainy day, and he's kind of beat up looking, wearing a suit, and it has a little thing. He's like, "Oh, about this dog." He's like, "Not my dog." And then it jumps back to the wheelchair thing where he catches a cab, and the guy's yelling at him about breaking the chair.
Yep.
It just
keeps going. Like the timeline here is very non-chronological, which it does it for me. I've always loved stories that are not told chronologically.
I'm okay with it. It works well in this comic, and like, I mean, I'm assuming this is probably a thing of New York. Never been to New York, but he goes to get a cab, and the cab's not going anywhere because there's just so much traffic, so he just walks where he needs to go because he can. So that was amusing.
It's pretty good. I really enjoy it.
And this is when you get first introduced to tracksuit Draculas, which are in the Hawkeye show, and they're kicking people out of a building. And that's where the building where he lives, they're evicting everybody, which that plot line isn't explained till way later in the series why they're doing that and what the real reason was. I can't remember exactly, but I remember bits and pieces of it. And so he ends up coming in and seeing how much money they owe, and he wants to help other people because they're going to kick everyone out of the building, and they raise the rent like 3 or 5 times, which they triple the rent. And to me, that's not that it feels kind of, accurate to how the world can be lately, and COVID and everything else has happened since then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
People are like, we're just going to raise our prices and see what happens.
And it does come out later that this Ivan is the guy who's kicking out the neighbor. He is the one who owns the building, so he can raise the rent to whatever he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut back to the veterinary clinic, which is a period of time later. Fortunately, this is Hawkeye because he's wearing a purple tie as opposed to any other color.
And this is where you have the funny line. He's like, "Your dog's like, not my dog." Okay, the dog. And he's trying to save the dog. And, like any vet will tell you when your animal is injured, like, well, we can do the surgery. Will it work? We don't know. We can't promise you that. I've been there too, so I understand.
Yeah. And he's basically saying, euthanization might be better. And Hawkeye is very clear. You will fix this dog. And the vet says something very cool. I will absolutely operate on the animal, but you need to ask yourself, are we doing this for him or for you?
It's a good little line, too.
Yes. And looking at Hawkeye, you can kind of tell he needs a win.
Yeah, he's just beat up, and that doesn't stop in this entire comic, this entire series.
And then after that, we snap back. And what I really appreciate is that whenever we go from, vet timeline to going back to the past a little bit, you have mirroring silhouettes. Like here, there's a silhouette where his head's down, his face is, in shadow. All you see is his hair saying, "Sorry, I snapped at you." And then in the next panel, it's back in time, but he has the same exact pose with the same exact shadowing.
They do a good job with that.
Comics are a great medium for this, especially when you have match cuts like this. It's so great.
Yeah, they did a very good job of jumping back and forth with these things, and I was impressed.
So
and
after
just the coloring too, the coloring changes so much between pages to show you the different time jumps and where everything is.
Like in the veterinary clinic, it's what I like to call a matrix color grade. It's very washed out, very green focused. Even the purple of Hawkeye's tie is very muted. And then in the next section, you're going to a rooftop party in his neighborhood with his neighbors. And it's very warm. He's kind of showing off with this little coin flicking trick.
I like that.
Everybody's just having a good time.
I like this. I mean, I live in an apartment building. This never happened at either of my apartment buildings where we had anything to do with each other. Other than the guy telling me, "Hey, can I have your parking spot because you're never here?" And then me saying no, and then them parking in my spot anyway. But that's the only thing that ever happened to me. So.
Yeah, I've never had a neighborhood like this where, I've lived in many apartment buildings, and for the most part, all my neighbors ever wanted to do was bump smokes. Which I did because I'm an idiot, but
I mean, yeah, it was cool to see they're on top of this rooftop and they're having a barbecue and they're talking to each other. And it's I think they know that Hawkeye is an Avenger, but I can't remember. I think they're aware that he's who he is.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they know, and they're all talking about the rents going up, and
since it's New York, they can't find a place to live anyway, because New York does have a real problem with that. with rents and things being issues. Like that's a real thing, which I like the fact that it doesn't pertain to me, but I can understand it and I get it.
Yeah, I mean, for those of us out there that aren't cool enough to have a nice house where we can see deer.
Well, I was meaning New York, but that's not I meant. That's been me. But I know, like, I watch a lot of documentaries about New York, and I know it's really bad, like, sometimes for renting. Like, it's really hard to find affordable places.
Yeah, and now it's just that bad everywhere with the pandemic. Like, even in little sleepy-ass Kenosha, Wisconsin, where I am, rent here is ridiculous.
It's bad here, too.
But after the rooftop party, we go out and we see some of the tracksuit boys again.
And again, you had the blue coloring to show you it's a different time, and you see the dog uninjured sitting next to these idiots, and he has a big duffel bag full of money because he's going to go into where the tracksuit mafias are playing poker downstairs in this basement, and he's bringing the money to pay everybody's rent and buy the building. That's what he's up to.
Yep. And, because he's a good guy. He's Hawkeye.
And then it doesn't take long because they don't want to accept the money, so then he starts throwing cards at them like he's Gambit.
Yep. Well, I mean, he's Hawkeye. He can do that. But Hawkeye's very close quarters fighting. Like, he's flicking cards like he was Ricky Jay or something. And, punching people, upending tables until he gets hit with a booze bottle. And that knocks him out.
And then you see him in the back at the veterinary waiting on the dog getting rescued, and then all the tracksuit mafia comes again and start trying to beat the shit out of him. And this is where they shoot him. I don't know. Wait, is he waiting? Oh yeah, no. It shows one scene of him. This cuts around a lot. It shows a scene of him in the vet sleeping. Then it shows them coming, throwing him out of. Oh, then it cuts back to him getting thrown out of the. Oh, it is a clinic. I don't even know what the hell is going on. He gets thrown out of the clinic. He gets chased by the guys, and the dog saves his life.
Well, he's not thrown out of the clinic at this point because this is it's cutting.
Oh, it shows the clinic.
Then it's a match cut to the building that he goes into with the gambling den, and that's where he gets thrown out of.
Okay, and then it shows he got shot in the arm, and the dog bites the guy and saves him. And then they hurt the dog, and then he rescues the dog from getting hit by a car with a quarter.
Yeah, he flicks the quarter through the driver's side window because he's that cool.
And then it cuts to the vet where the mafia came to greet him at the vet, and he beats the shit out of him inside the vet's office.
Yep. And it's great because he says at one point, "It's okay, everybody. I'm an Avenger." And one of the patients at the vet clinic is like, "Are you like Iron Fist or something?"
I really like Iron Fist a lot. Like, I'm a big fan of Iron Fist because of my friend. So I thought that was a really cool comment. Less of a fan after I saw that terrible Iron Fist season 1, but hey. I heard season 2 is better.
They're coming back to Hulu pretty soon, y'all. So or
they're coming to Disney Plus actually.
Yeah, Disney Plus. So you'll have your chance to catch up.
At the time you're hearing this, is already on, but people were complaining that it was coming back Disney Plus and how it bringing violent shows to Disney Plus. Disney never made violent shows. Disney bought freaking Fox, guys. Like, accept it now. They're going to own violent
Even
properties.
Before that, Disney bought Miramax, who put out Pulp Fiction and The Crow. So you don't get to tell me that Disney doesn't have their finger in violent stuff. They do.
They just label it differently.
Yeah.
It's not under the Disney brand.
But
it's
anyway.
And then this is where he beats the shit out of Ivan, sends him away in a taxi, and I think this is where he buys the. He pretty much said, "I bought the building."
Yeah, and Ivan's actually making a clear case. Hey, I broke no laws, allowed to raise her rents. It kind of sucks, but sucks for you guys.
But that's more on a. I felt more like comparison to our world and our country, where you can raise the rent whatever you want to do. It's not against the law.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are laws now in New York, to be honest, but you have to do certain things to raise the rent. I watch a lot of documentaries.
Fair enough. But after Hawkeye gets Ivan in the cab, doctor comes out, and the dog's going to be okay. Broken pelvis, broken leg, 2 broken ribs, and he's lost an eye. Kind of almost mirroring our friend Clint here at the beginning.
And he also says on the collar, it says Arrow for the name of the dog.
Yeah, so of course Hawkeye's going to come up with something different because that's a little too on the nose, and that's the end of issue 1.
And there's an advertisement that I have to mention in here because it shows 2 different covers of Hawkeye and talks a little bit about Hawkeye. And it has the first appearance cover on here. I love that. And it's I don't get that.
Fantastic.
And I have that first appearance cover right above me too, except mine's a lot duller than and ripped and I have a shitty.
Yeah, but you got it, and it's an emotional thing. You got it.
I will never open it out of that paper because I'm worried if I open it, it might crumble to pieces. So it will never come out of that bag.
It may well do.
It's that's an old ass comic from like this. It's from the '60s, so yeah, it's not.
Oof.
But then we bring to issue 2, and the thing about this, like this early stuff, is it's not you do have a connected issue to finish off this first trade, but the next issue it kind of just picks up where it just shows people getting shot, and it shows Hawkeye and some other girl in a pool swimming, and it says, "This looks bad. Don't die." And then it cuts, because that's what he does in this comic. It cuts to pretty much, I'm assuming, a couple days before, where Clint is sitting there in his apartment with a girl, Kate Bishop, who depending on how much comics you read, you wouldn't know. She already was introduced in the comics before this.
Yeah, Kate Bishop was the Hawkeye for the Young Avengers. And now that actual Hawkeye is back, he's kind of taken her under his wing in like a mentor-mentee kind of relationship.
I like Kate Bishop in this. Like, especially after watching the show, where she's in the show, she really grew on me. And after watching the first season of Hawkeye and then going back to this show, to this comic, I had a lot more appreciation for Kate Bishop than I did when I first read this comic 2 years ago.
And it's great. Like, they kind of do an intro of Kate Bishop, but then they do like a black and white freeze frame that's like, just here's some exposition on Kate.
It's well done. And it kind of shows him like he's just shooting arrows at things and, showing his skill and just kind of talking to her and telling her about these messages that that Carnies are leaving around, that he knows what they are, so he's following them. And, it also kind of talks about how rich she is, because she's super fucking rich, and how they go to this ball to go. They're not bidding on. Yeah, they go to a ball for some reason. I can't remember why, because they're not bidding on anything yet. Oh, they go to a ball to see they go to some show. And there's a bunch of villains there.
Yeah.
Which I really like that, because it shows you a bunch of panels of different villains. You have Kingpin, Madame Mask, Tombstone, Hammerhead, and I don't know who the other two are on the left.
Kind of looks like Wolverine on the far left.
It does look like Wolverine, but I'm assuming it's not because of the green coat. I'm assuming it's somebody from the comics.
And next to Hammerhead, that could be Maria Hill.
Oh, yeah.
She does show up later.
Yeah, but it's a cool little scene, and the way they do the colors is very good in this comic. Like, you have this guy who is doing some kind of tricks where he's throwing knives. You have a guy throwing knives blindfolded, and Hawkeye makes comment about how they were both trained by the same guy, Swordsman, which is the villain from early Avenger comics, who's the guy that trained Hawkeye, because Hawkeye in his first appearance is a villain for his first 2 appearances. He doesn't join the Avengers until later.
And this is where Hawkeye realizes that all these circus people, which are kind of like low-rent Cirque du Soleil, they're thieves. They were trained by the same person who taught him how to, be a living weapon, but also how to steal.
Which I think is cool. They make a comment about the word living weapon, because that's the name of the first trade. Or no, my life as a weapon.
Close enough.
Yeah, I like that.
But
he's hypnotizing. This guy is hypnotizing everybody, and they put on sunglasses so they can't. And that's how he realizes they're thieves, and they go and steal everybody's stuff while everybody's hypnotized.
Yep, they're cleaning out safes. They're robbing people, like, directly from their coats. Like, they're just fleecing people.
And they take off somebody's pearl necklace, too, which made me think of something else.
Yeah, but the Sanity see.
And then you see both the Hawkeyes go and follow them, except while Clint goes after them, Kate goes to get an outfit, which, again, saves their life. She goes to one of the dressing rooms and knocks out the girl there who, after fighting with her, and then takes her costume. and of course, as this comic goes, Hawkeye gets hit in the back of the head by a crowbar, gets into a fight, and gets his ass beat and tied up.
Because that seems to happen.
Oh, God, it happens. The entire run, he gets his ass beat. It never stopped in this comic.
Yeah. And I feel like this is a good time to mention that, this comic run came after the Avengers movie.
Oh, yeah, 2012.
So like, everybody was kind of making fun of Hawkeye just being the guy with the bow and arrow in the movie. So this is kind of an attempt to make Hawkeye cool for, people who didn't already think he was. Looking at you, Mike.
One of the few, I think, at this time. He's not a really well-known character. He was not at this time at all.
He's always been a player. The character I played as in Captain America and the Avengers. So
same, but I don't think
I've been with you for a while.
Yeah, but I don't think he had as many. He was never. I don't think he ever was a big character though.
No. Until like this really kind of put him like forefront and center. Obviously, Jeremy Renner playing him. You know, I think Jeremy Renner's won Oscars, or at least was nominated for The Hurt Locker.
Well, I'm not sure. I can't. I'm not sure on that one. I mean, Hawkeye had been in games since 1991. He's first in the Spider-Man arcade game, which is where, and then he's in the Captain America Avengers a little bit later. But that game came out first. Good game, by the way.
And then getting a pretty big name actor to play him, that'll bring some focus. And I don't know. I think this is a good run to legitimize Hawkeye on.
Yeah.
So after Hawkeye gets his ass beat, he wakes up, classic gangland assassination, like kind of kneeling down. Some of the circus people have a gun pointed at the back of the head. And we meet Jacques Duquesne, the ringleader of these criminal folk, the one that the swordsman trained.
Yeah. And I like it how you see the same costume of the girl that Kate Bishop knocked out on the side of this panel where they're getting ready. Okay, take him out to the boat, shoot him, and put his body in the water so they can't find him. And then the line is, did I ever tell you why I love Kate Bishop? Nope. I mean, look at her. And then it shows her just, she ends up just shooting the people that are about to kill him and ends up shooting the rope, tying his hands, and it just shows them fighting. It's really cool. And then she grabs him and they jump into a pool or jump through a window. And then while he's grabbing her, she's still shooting arrows.
And it's great because as they fall, you get okay, this looks bad.
And they jump in the pool, climb out of the pool, and she's still shooting arrows, and it shows her take out like 2 guys with headshots. Or she shoots them in the eye, and she's like, well, they'll live, but they'll never see again. I like her. I really do. And then it's cool seeing them fight. And you have a scene where this new swordsman guy comes up with the 2 swords, and he uses one of his trick arrows where he shoots the guy, and the guy's like, you missed, and it bounces off the wall and then shoots him in the back of the neck and paralyzes him.
And that's a good time. Just kind of just bings off a wall. He'll live. Not well, but he'll live.
And then he steals the boat that the circus has, and you have a small scene where all these villains that you saw earlier think Hawkeye is the one that stole everything from them. Or Clint Barton from the Avengers.
And Mr. Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, is here, and he's pissed.
Well, yeah.
And that's fair.
And then it shows a little scene, panel of them talking on the phone, which I did like how he doesn't want to get her involved in what's happening, but she doesn't really care.
Yep.
And the whole line, he's like, I like you because I don't want to sleep with you. and it works.
It works really well because there's a lot of information going on in dialogues, and the way these pages are structured with their non-traditional panels, it works really well. It has a great rhythm to it.
Yeah. Way better than I expected.
It's very much like a buddy comedy where a lot of the dialogue does all the heavy lifting.
And it's actually pretty funny the way they interact with each other too. And there's an issue way later in this run that we're not covering because it's not in this trade where he talks about all his ex-girlfriends, and there's Mockingbird and Black Widow and Spider-Woman, how he slept with them, and how they're all trying to, and he's an idiot or something. It's pretty funny, but so there's some shows that he's had a lot of girlfriends over the years because he's been around forever.
Well, plus he's Hawkeye.
It looks at, and this next issue, I'm a fan of. This is a really good issue, standalone issue. So issue 3, It starts off with, okay, this looks bad, really, really bad, but believe it or not, it gets worse. It's only the 3rd most terrible idea I've had today, and today I've had exactly 9 terrible ideas, and it shows a scene of Kate Bishop driving a car, a nice Charger. He's shooting arrows out, they're being chased, and there's a girl in the back seat tied up. That's all you see at first.
And this issue is hilarious because this is almost shot for shot recreated in the show.
I don't remember.
Hawkeye's actually driving the car in the show, and Kate's the one shooting the arrows. But they do have this car chase with trick arrows with the Tracksuit Mafia.
It's good though in this. It talks about he's showing her the trick arrows and how he needs to get tape to put on the arrows, and she's like, "What the hell are all these for?" And he's like, "It's boomerang arrow." She's like, "Boomerang? Why do you need an arrow to come back to you?"
And it'll come in handy.
And then it jumps back to him Then it jumps to him driving the car. And he's like, I never should have left the apartment. And he's shooting it shows a bola arrow, and each time it has a little like panel of the arrowheads to show you how they're different and how he wraps up some guy's gun. And then he has an acid arrow, and he shoots this arrow into the guy's car, like blows up their car or something. I thought that was cool. But there's all these different scenes about how he needs tape. I need tape. I gotta go get tape. And he's walking to the store, and he sees some girl with a beautiful car. This is a 1970 Charger, Dodge Challenger, and she's loading it up, and he wants to buy the car from her because he's rich.
Yep.
And it's just funny. He's like, I'll get you, she's a redhead. And then it jumps to the acid arrow thing I just mentioned. And then it jumps back to, you see all those little cars that are chasing him parked in front of this building where you can tell he went and had sex with her instead of, getting her the money to buy the car.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I got nothing wrong with it. It's just funny.
He'll get the money.
He has the money. He hands it to her. She's like, I gotta catch a flight, and this is, and you see him naked. You don't see anything, but he's standing there naked. She's dressed, of course, because comics. And I just like this. I mean, I think at one time it might have bothered me more, but I think, it makes sense. This woman is leaving. He's an Avenger. He's hot. Like, why not have a one-night stand before you leave and never come back to this area?
Yeah.
Which is
but
a lot
unfortunately.
And then the guys bought the tracksuit Draculas or Mafia, or whatever they bought. Are they, this is tracksuit? No, this is someone else.
No, this is the tracksuits.
Oh, it is? Okay. They bust in and start shooting, and you have a funny scene where he's jumping and he's naked, so you have the Hawkeye original costume face in front of his balls.
Yeah, like it's a great, wonderful little self-aware bit of censoring.
And then he just beats the shit out of people naked with lamps and stuff, and then, of course, gets hit in the back of the head with a gun and kicked and left there.
Yep.
And they
like
kidnap
it happens.
And then I like how he's like, okay, this is bad. He's getting dressed and he's calling her. He's like, yeah, can you? Oh, I like to shit. Why do you still have a phone with a cord on the wall? And then he's like, how'd you know it was me? Who else would be calling your sad ass? I'm like,
so Kate still thinks he's out for tape.
Yes.
And she has to go pick up Hawkeye so they can get this car so they can rescue this girl. And it's fortunate that there's a tracer arrow in the car because his stuff is still in the car, including the tape.
Oh, he did get the tape. And the girl's tied up in the back. And they use the tape to gag her, too, it looks like.
Yep.
And
Kate shows up in a little purple Volkswagen Bug.
He's trying to get dressed still. And she starts to make comments like, really, with the abs? And he's like, drive!
So they take off.
And they drive into the Challenger, and then they steal it and throw the guy out, and they use a putty arrow to, like, cement the guy to the street.
Which is great.
Then you see them getting chased by a bunch of the little... What kind of cars are those?
It looks like Mini Coopers.
Yeah. I always make me think of the Italian Job, every time.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing, too, when I was watching it. Or when I was reading this, because...
That movie will forever be the Mini Cooper movie.
Oh, yeah.
Forever.
Both
whether
of them.
Or not.
The original and the remake.
I've never seen the original. I just know the remake.
You should check both of them out. Anyway.
And then so I like how he's grabbing arrows and shooting arrows at them, and they're arguing with each other, kind of. Yes, you just have different trick arrows all the time.
I think it's really cool that he used a sonic arrow, because the sonic arrow is what caused his hearing loss.
Oh. Okay.
Like back in the original 80-something run.
Huh. I didn't know you had hearing loss in that run.
Yep.
I know he's hearing loss in the show a little bit. They talk about that, the trauma.
Yeah, and the hearing loss is something that comes up a lot in the comic books, because when he's doing stuff with Deadpool pulls up his mask so that Hawkeye can read his lips. He uses sign language to communicate with Hawkeye. Deadpool, good guy, progressive.
It's a good car chase, and then the different arrows. You have a cable arrow, an explosive arrow, and just different things he's doing to stop all these cars. A smoke bomb arrow, and finally they get to a bridge where there's traffic, so they can't get around. And when he shoots a rocket up to blow up some cars, and you have a funny scene where he uses a suction cup to spin around into their car, and he electrocutes the driver, and then jumps back to his car. No, he crashes. That's what happened. They just crash. And then it shows, because again, as this thing is common for, the guy pulls a gun on Clint and Kate Bishop, and he's like, "I just want the girl." And he tells her to put down the bow. So she's like, so she tells him, loose the arrow. She just shoots the arrow up in the air, and the guy laughs, and then the boomerang arrow hits him in the back of the head.
And it worked. So that's what we call a callback that worked.
And then it shows the car is all broken. I like how he gave the redhead the jacket because all she had was a bra on. Or no, maybe not a bra. She has like a little shirt on, but he gives her the jacket. Then it was a cute little scene. And she kisses him, and she gets on her plane. So
yeah, it's nice. It's cute. And then we get into the 2-part story, the tape,
which is actually very good. This is probably the thing about, even with the rest of this run, very few issues are continuations. They're all a lot of one-off issues, and it's the same. This is one of the few 2-parts in the whole run.
And this one, we have a different art style. It's not done by
David Aja.
Yeah, it's done by Javier Pulido.
I like David Aja's style better.
I do too,
but
this is almost too Marvel.
And you got to take a break because it's probably taking a while. Because art takes a while, so and you got to release this every month. So no, this is the first panel of this 2-part also shows Clint shooting 2 arrows into some guy's eyes, and he's getting murdered. And the line is, "You ever
nice
kill anybody,
throwback
Clint?"
to the last episode or the last issue where the same thing.
She blinds people. And then they're on the roof. He's with Kate Bishop, and they're just talking, and the people are having a barbecue again on the roof. And then all of a sudden, a shadow comes up, and S.H.I.E.L.D. comes down and abducts him, which is kind of funny because it's the helicarrier. And this is where you see Captain America for the only time in this run, I think, too.
Yep. Yeah, in this particular run, this is Captain America. You got Maria Hill here too.
And they're telling him that a tape had went missing, and it's going to go up to auction in Madripoor, and he has to go get it back.
So they're sending him in with an American Express black card, which is just great.
It's very amusing. And then it shows him kind of break into his house through the window, and Kate's waiting for him. And he has a bow she never seen before, and he's telling her not to go with him, and he has to go do a mission for S.H.I.E.L.D.
So he's going to do that.
And then it shows him go to Madripoor. And if I do not know Madripoor as well. Like when I first read this comic, I didn't know what it was. After watching the Marvel shows that come out, if I remember correctly, Madripoor is where they go in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yep.
And Madripoor, I know, is a big X-Men place, correct? For Wolverine, at least? Okay.
Yeah, it's basically like a big city that's like almost like a safe haven for criminals. There's a lot of crime that happens there, but it's not like, necessarily like a murder capital of everywhere. It's more like, your highbrow crime.
Okay.
And Clint gets recognized at the airport.
Of course.
And he gets pulled into a side room by a bunch of military people.
I like this. He's like, here's the line. Well, I wanted my arrival in Madripoor to get noticed, but I thought at least I'd get out of the damn airport first. They keep it professional. They keep it clean. They take me far enough away that nobody will hear any screams or yells or shouts, no matter how harsh the punishment. Good. And then it shows him walk out the door dressed up without the guards.
Just nice and easy.
Oh, he just beat the shit out of everybody in the room. And then he gets in front of somebody. Is that Kate Bishop? I wonder that he just cut in front of to get the taxi.
No,
okay,
somebody blonde.
Okay, I thought maybe she was wearing a wig, but because she is in here, so. And then he goes to Madripoor, and then the taxi driver tries to rob him, and then somebody else robs that guy or something. Or no, the taxi driver hands it off to somebody else while he's fighting.
Well, the taxi driver gets knocked out because Hawkeye kicks him in the face. The wallet goes flying. Somebody else grabs the wallet from outside. Hawkeye grabs the person that grabbed that wallet. While he's taking care of the person who grabbed the wallet, somebody else comes in and grabs the wallet. And then they hand it off to a fourth person. So you got 3 people just knocked out in the cab, all for one wallet. But it was just, Hawkeye's cash, his cards, his IDs, his passport, and his Amex Black are still safe.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Then he becomes a taxi driver, and he drives people around to try to figure out where he should go.
And apparently, he's not great at his job.
No, I like how you have like 2 panels of it. One's like, and come on, who expects a cab driver in Madripoor to know where the hell to go anyway, right? Next panel, turns out everybody, actually. Again, you're a taxi driver. You're supposed to know where you're going.
But the reason he does this is he wants to get access to the taxi drivers, the people that work for the taxi company, because in any city, taxi drivers are the ones that know what's going on.
Oh, yeah. They know where everything is because they drive it all. You would see it all. So it completely makes sense. And then he shows him go to a casino, the Madripoor Pearl. And as soon as he gets to the casino, they grab him, put a thing over his face, and take him to the back room to beat him up.
Yep, they black bag him real quick.
Which makes sense. He would be a very recognizable figure.
Oh, yeah. They beat the hell out of him.
And then they're trying to they find his passport, and he says something about the Amex card, and then Madame Moss shows up, supposedly, which I barely know this character at all. I recognize her. I've seen her in a few things once in a while, but she's not a character that stands out to me.
She's a bad guy.
Okay. I know she's in Agent Carter Season 2, which is a really good show, by the way.
Never watched it, but I'll have a chance to.
Yeah, it's going to be on Disney Plus also.
Yes, it is.
So it's worth a watch. It's not very long. And it's
anyway.
What else can I say? All right, so...
Madame Masks basically says, hey, lights out, take him up to my room, and Hawkeye gets knocked the fuck out again.
And then they go to get the black Amex card, and they're like, where'd you hide it? He's like, well, where nobody would look, or something like that.
Yep. So she's got to get it.
And I like how he has a line, a couple lines. He's like, God, cold. Oh, what is that? Leather, pleather, vinyl, or shut up, lady? Are you checking me for tumors, or I assure you this is unpleasant for me? And then she pulls the card out of his ass.
Yep, or somewhere.
I'm assuming it's his ass.
I don't know, but immediately says to have this card disinfected.
It really made me laugh.
So then he's plopped down in a chair. Oh my god!
And they tie him to a chair, and then they throw him in his bedroom on a bed. They don't even untie him, and he falls asleep.
So he just goes to sleep.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you see a bunch of ninjas in the room with him, and then it jumps back to Madame Mosk.
Yep. And then they're talking about the card that she recovered from Barton's nethers, which is why I'm not entirely convinced that it was his ass.
Okay, you think it was taped somewhere else, like on his balls?
Yeah, I think it was probably up underneath the taint or something.
Yeah, it would make more sense than shoving a card in your ass, probably, huh? Because it probably wouldn't fit.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
But then we got an appearance from Kingpin.
Yeah, you get a cool panel of the bidding for this tape that was stolen, and you have a bunch of different people. You have a bunch of Hydra soldiers, AIM soldiers, just other characters that I don't recognize completely. And then Kingpin too, and where he's talking, and then apparently somebody didn't show up.
I think one of the people here bidding is a representative of the Ten Rings.
Okay, yeah, you do have somebody from that. You have Agent Byzantine, which I don't know who that is. I don't know who the Magia are.
I think that's like their version of the Mafia.
Okay, you have the Crimson Cowl. I don't know who that is either.
Hydra gets in by holding up their fists and screaming "Hail Hydra," and the auctioneer just cuts them off.
I like that. And then you have Madame Mosk with the Shield black card. Says 1 billion, and pretty much that they call it, no one else can bid, and they just call it there, and she wins.
And Kingpin's pissed.
Mm-hmm.
He is pissed.
And then Madame Moss takes her tape, goes into the room, and says, if I need anything, I'll just scream, leave me alone. And then she takes off the mask, and you see it's Kate Bishop.
Oh, no. Oh, wait, you know what? You're right. It was her, because there's the blonde widow right there.
Oh, yep.
Yep, you called it. So, yeah, Clint did steal the cab from Kate, which I should have realized
Madame
because
is tied up
pants.
With duct tape in the background.
Which is great. And then we move on to part 2 and finding out what's on the tape. But first, it's start of a new issue, so Hawkeye's got to be thrown out of something, and something's got to look bad.
Yeah, he throws him out the window in the chair. And then it cuts to a couple seconds ago where the ninjas are trying to kill him, and he jumps out the window. And then it shows Kate Bishop watching the tape. And for some reason, when she ejects the tape out of the VCR, it falls, because apparently she doesn't know to catch the tape, I guess. I'm assuming that's what it was.
Hey, she's young. She doesn't know how VCRs work.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's understandable. Even in 2012, VCRs are mostly gone at this point, or are gone.
I still have 2.
I don't have any, and I don't want any. My parents still have a giant plastic bin full of VHS tapes I bought in high school that they just won't get rid of for some reason.
Hey, if you want to get rid of them, send them to Kenosha. I'll take them.
She doesn't want to get rid of them. I have Lord of the Rings in there too. At least 2 of them.
Ooh, nice.
And a bunch of other random movies that I bought. But And then you have the tape falls, and then the guards come in. She puts on the mask, and they find Madame Moss all tied up. And then it looks like they're gonna shoot her. Then you see Hawkeye falling in the background out the window,
which is just great. And then all of a sudden, whooping in Maria Hill
saves him on some kind of like little bike, some kind of floating bike thing, hovercraft.
Thank goodness. But unfortunately, the ninjas were close behind.
And it just shows them fighting a bunch of ninjas on the hovercraft, and then they all go flying off. And at one point, some guy is holding onto his foot. He's like, "Grab my arm," and the guy just lets go. Does he? Oh yeah, the guy just says never, and then kills himself essentially.
Yeah, like he tried.
And there's a really funny scene of Madame Moss being all pissed off, and they're Kate Bishop's like, I'll scream as loud, and it just shows her in the air, and the two guys are just holding her arms, and Madame Moss like, nobody will care. And then she threatens how she's going to smoke cigarettes and put them out on her face before she kills her.
And this speech was awesome. I love this speech. This is my favorite thing in this comic book.
You're welcome to read it.
Oh my God.
Because you're a smoker, right?
Asks, yeah. Oh yeah, I'm a smoker.
You can, yeah. So any smoker can relate to this then.
Yep. She says, Kate, you're a kid. Do you smoke? And Kate's, excuse me? Smoke. Cigarettes. Children smoke cigarettes. Are you one? No? Good girl. Smart. Live longer. I smoked for years. Years. Quitting was the hardest thing I ever had to do. And it was the quitting that made me hate smoking. Not the cancer or the disease or anything else. I hated not having control over myself. But just now, it's funny. Just now, I was overwhelmed for the urge to smoke. Out of nowhere, I'd pay $1,000 for a cigarette. See? Control. I'm going to stub an entire pack of cigarettes out on that pretty little face of yours tonight. I'm going to smoke them one at a time and use your face for my ashtray for what you did to me. That is cold.
Yeah, that would fucking hurt. And not to mention, you're probably going to be beaten in other ways, too, before you're killed. But yeah, it'd be really bad.
Oh, yes. And then the real Madame Mask comes back in, and Kingpin is representing. And who should come to the rescue but Hawkeye?
Yeah, they're going to murder her, son, very badly, as you hear. Then there's Hawkeye, and she's like, "Oh, my ride's here." And Hawkeye's standing on the hovercraft with Maria Hill, and he shoots, I'm assuming a sonic arrow to break the glass to then get her out. And then I like how, and he only has one shoe. He steps on the glass, and he's like, "Well, do you have the tape?" Oh, no, they break through a door. They're running from the villains, and he's like, "Do you have the tape?" "No, I think it's right where I left it." And they run back towards everybody and just start fighting. I really like that.
Yeah, and it's just a great sequence. There's not a lot of dialogue. And he's kicking open a door with his injured foot, and he's screaming about it.
I would be, too. And it shows all the blood, too, on the door. And I like this where it shows him, she's like, "Cigarettes out of my face." He's like, "Your face? I know, right?" And I like how
she's basically filling him in.
There's a line where he's like, "I know this should come as no surprise, but I think Madame Moth might just be crazy." You think? And then they seal the tape, and they're just they're just limping because he's all injured to the elevator. And then Madame Moss shoots a hole through the tape, shoots Hawkeye, and it shows so Kate then drags Hawkeye into the elevator, and she just shoots the elevator too because she's just pissed off. And it shows Hawkeye survived, and then it shows him in the hospital or in the SHIELD headquarters.
Yeah, I mean, he got shot point blank right in his bulletproof vest.
Yeah.
So
with a very powerful gun, it looks like.
Yep, very powerful. And before he passes out, he just says that was an expensive suit.
And then it shows him on SHIELD with Nick Fury, Maria Hill, and you talked about the tape was a fake, and how the tape was really there to protect Navy SEALs from having their family identity, and they made 3 fake tapes with different Avengers killing people. Captain America, Wolverine, and Hawkeye.
I thought that was really cool. Like, that was a fun little gimmick that makes sense because they had a leak, and that's how they found out where the leak was, by which tape got out.
And I like how there's a scene where he even says, "Look, they asked, I said yes. The guys that actually did this, they're doing what they think is right. They didn't sign up to get their families and friends killed as retribution. So I did it."
Yeah.
Which is cool. I mean, it shows Hawkeye put his life on the line to protect, the military.
And that's what just a regular guy does.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Hawkeye one of the best Avengers.
And did your trade have one more issue, or is this the end of it?
Yeah, no, my trade had the issue of Young Avengers that focused a lot on Kate Bishop and Eli Bradley.
We can talk. I read that too, so we can talk about that one too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, Kate and Eli Bradley, Patriot, they're in Young Avengers together, and they're having some romantic issues.
Which makes sense. Also, Young Avengers Presents was a 6-issue miniseries that kind of like talked about Young Avengers. I really like this cover, though, and I really want this book now, but I doubt, because it has a bunch of Hawkeye on the cover in his classic costume.
Oh, I'm sure you could probably find this. I can't imagine that Young Avengers 6 is going to be difficult to find.
Young Avengers 1 is worth a lot of money right now.
Yeah, but Young Avengers 6, is it? Who knows?
Probably not. This is a different part of the run, too. This is a little, because the regular run was different. And then it has her and Eli, which just didn't mean a whole lot to me because I don't know any. I've never read Young Avengers, but this is essentially the main stuff about this book is she's meeting Ronan for the first time, and she ends up fighting with Ronan, and because Ronan is that's what Hawkeye is at this point.
Yes,
and then
because Hawkeye knows that somebody else is using the Hawkeye name.
Yes, and I didn't realize this because I've never read any. I didn't read much of the comics that Hawkeye died supposedly in something, and Captain America gives her his old bow and gives her his name. That I didn't know. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. And she shows up to deal with the card that Ronan gave her and meets Clint Barton at the temporary headquarters of the Avengers.
Which is, I think this is New Event. I'm assuming this is New Avenger.
Probably, because you got Luke Cage and Spider-Man playing games together.
Yeah. And they talk about something about the other Avengers, and I'm assuming this might be the same time as the Dark Avengers are around, which are all the villains.
Yeah.
But I don't know comics that well. But it was just cool. I mean, it was cool to see her, and it's a little story mainly about how Hawkeye takes her bow back. She can't use the name Hawkeye anymore, and then she's fighting with the team because she lost her name and her bow, and then she goes and steals the bow back from Hawkeye in the Avengers with the help of Speed, which is Quicksilver's son.
Of course.
Or not son, but Vision and Wanda's son. And I do like this where in the beginning you have her, on a date with Eli, and then she gets pissed off at Eli, so then she takes Speed out on a date and she's at a bar with him. Even though she's not even interested in him, she's just doing it to piss him off, which I thought was funny.
And she decides to hide out on the balcony because looks like we got 2 Avengers coming back home.
And I really like there's a picture in here which is from Avengers 16, Captain America, Hawkeye, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch as the Avengers, which is a small chunk of the Avengers after Avengers 16 where it was just that team. Which is why in Age of Ultron we had Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in the Avengers, because that was the Avengers that Joss Whedon grew up reading for that chunk of time.
All of 5 minutes in Quicksilver's case, but
yes.
Whatever.
And it's a cool little part of just her, seeing Ronan, and then she steals the bow, and then Ronan goes to where she is and pretty much tells her, like, yeah, I knew it was you. You stayed around, and he gives her the picture and lets her keep the bow and keep her name. It's a cute little scene.
Yeah.
And then Eli's playing some game, and she goes and kisses him and just says, give me time. So it's a cool little thing.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And he's playing the Hulk game. I see. It's actually from the Hulk game, the Incredible Hulk game. That's funny. Okay. It made me happy to see that this was included in the trade, because I never would have read this otherwise. And issue 6 of Hawkeye, I think, it goes in other places.
Yeah,
so it was cool to me that they did
arc,
that.
I think. The cool thing about this is that you actually do see a lot of this in the show. From where Kate meets Hawkeye for the first time, it's very similar type of fangirly reaction.
Yes. And another thing about the comic that I do want to say is that they don't say bro a crazy amount in these first few issues. It gets a lot worse as the series progresses.
But that is one thing that also carries over to the show, because Tracksuit Mafia consistently says bro a lot.
I was also surprised how good I enjoyed the show, because after reading this comic, I actually didn't watch the show until it was almost finished, because I had no interest in it. Because I thought it'd be stupid. It turned out the show was actually really good.
Oh, yeah, the show was really good. And like I said at the top of this episode, it takes a lot of its story beats from this graphic novel. I mean, you get the car chase from issue 3. it's gender swap because Hawkeye's driving while Kate is shooting the arrows. You get the appearance of Pizza Dog.
Yep.
You get a lot of stuff from Matt Fraction's Hawkeye Run in that show. But you also get the presence of his kids and his family from the movies. And it's, honestly, if you haven't watched the show at this point, you really should. It's a really fun version of this graphic novel, which feels like a buddy comedy. Like, I love the interactions between Clint and Kate in this book, and they translated that really well to the show.
And it's probably one of the better shows of the Marvel shows that have come out so far.
I've been pretty big fan of all of the Disney Plus Marvel shows. I really enjoyed Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Okay. I found somebody then talk about it with me when I cover it.
Yep. Oh, I'll be happy to, because Zemo is one of my favorite characters in comic books. Go figure, Ken likes the villains. But I just thought the show was really fun. WandaVision, I had a lot of fun with. This was the show that I was worried about the most, honestly.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how the show was going to be. Because, I mean, I really didn't like What If that much.
I thought What If was fine.
I did not like What If, but it is fun. I just did not like it at all. And then Falcon and Winter Soldier I wasn't a big fan of when I watched it. I really enjoyed Loki. I enjoyed WandaVision. There's an episode about WandaVision to go here, but I just wasn't sure how Hawkeye was going to be. Because I had, before we reread this comic, I had really bad memories of reading this 2 years ago. But my opinion has completely changed since then. Of these first 5 issues were a lot better than I remembered. And it made me want to read more of the run. I just didn't have time, nor did I want to do that. But
I think one of the biggest changes that the show made over this graphic novel was they set it at Christmas. And I know that Christmas does come up in later issues of this Hawkeye run. But you get Jack Duquesne in the show instead of Jacques Duquesne. And he does play the swordsman. So, like, you get a lot of really interesting things in the show. A lot of it came from this particular chunk of 5 issues. You do get some villain appearances, especially the Tracksuit Mafia. They show up in there. Look, let me tell you, they're delightful.
They actually are really good in that show. And even in this comic, they weren't, at least in these first 5 issues, they weren't nearly what I remembered. Yeah,
like they're not annoying here. They don't really overstay their welcome in these first 5 issues. They're just, kind of, they're henchmen.
They work well, and it makes sense. The only thing, does he wear the purple bullseye shirt in the show? I can't remember.
I don't believe
that becomes a classic shirt in the comic later.
I'll have to watch it again.
Okay, I don't think
I've been meaning to. I do like that show a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
now if Disney Plus would just hurry up and get off their ass and put out physical versions of those shows, I'd be a happy camper.
I'm assuming we're not going to get a season. Well, I assume we're not going to get a season of Hawkeye 2. That's what I want to say, but who knows?
I feel like on the last episode they said that there would be a season 2.
Oh, they did? Okay.
So I know there's going to be a season 2 of Loki.
Yeah, but that's fine. But there shouldn't, I think WandaVision is done. I'm pretty sure.
I think so, because I think a lot of WandaVision is going to be going right into
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Which, oh boy, very excited about it, bro.
Same here. I'm okay with that, though. I like these shows to be one-off seasons. I don't want more. So, but I mean, I could take a second season of Hawkeye. I just would rather just have Kate Bishop and get rid of Renner. But so
you take those words back, Jeremy.
Renner's fine. I feel like he's about done with this anyway, just because he's been around this long.
Yeah, probably.
That's all. It's not. He does a fine job. He's a good actor. I think he might be an asshole in real life, but I don't know enough. But he's fine as Hawkeye. I feel like it's time to wrap up these older characters and keep going. Like, I never want Robert Downey Jr. back again.
No, and I don't think he's going to. I definitely don't think they should.
No, because they pay him too much money.
Well, it's not just that they pay him too much money, but if they bring him back, everything that happened at Endgame is meaningless.
Yeah. Well, there was talks about him being in Ironheart as the AI. But even that
no
got.
Gracias.
Yeah, he don't need to come back. Just move on. Been around long enough.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the big spoiler of the show?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Because that might.
Fair enough.
I'd rather not yet. But I will be. I
Go watch the
plan to
show,
cover that
everybody.
show this year in 2022 around Christmas time because it's perfect for that time.
Yes, it
Christmas
is.
So that's my goal. Oh, and we should go to Shelf Stacker Box, and I'll go first. So I was a little surprised because I came into this not with high hopes. I remember not liking it when I read the whole thing last time. So I'm like, this is going to be instant box. And I really enjoyed these 5 issues. I had a great time reading this. It was fun. I wanted to read more of the comic, which is not what I expected. But hey, this is actually going to go on the shelf. This was really good, and I'm so happy we finally got to cover this comic. And I also can't believe there's not as many bros as I thought there would be, or maybe my brain just ignored them. I don't know, but I really enjoyed this trade. So going on the shelf. What about you, Ken?
Oh, it's definitely going on the shelf for me too, bro. This was it was a joy. Rapid fire dialogue. The way they told their story non-linearly was really great. I love the match cut between time periods. A lot of action. The non-conventional panels really made it fun to read. Definitely on the shelf for me. And I'm going to read the rest of the run.
Okay, you should. And see if maybe my opinion would be different if I would have reread it. I don't know. It's been 2 years and I'm a different person than I was 2 years ago a lot, especially when it comes to comics and stuff. So, yeah, I can't say.
So, hey,
right.
If you haven't read Hawkeye yet, get out there and see it. Go watch the Disney Plus show. If you start now, you'll be caught up by the time we start talking about it.
It's only 6 episodes. You'll be caught up in those. I like 6-episode series, by the way, too. I found out. It's also way easier to cover on a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I can't cover 20-some episode season like Star Trek Next Gen. I want to. That's not possible. So, yeah. Which is also going off Netflix. We've been off Netflix, but when you hear this, so that sucks. But, okay. And if you enjoyed this episode and you want to hear more Avenger stuff, go check out all our Infinity movies that we covered from the Infinity Saga of Marvel. There's all of them from there. So you can hear all about Hawkeye and what we thought about Hawkeye and us bitch about Hawkeye in those and me like him. So definitely go check those out. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. And if you enjoyed this episode, you can find everything on Podbean. I want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Helena at Hell Has Fury. And we do have a Patreon. For as little as $1, you can vote in our Patreon. So definitely go do that. Each month I put a different type of something on there. You get to vote. So you get to make a decision what happens in the show. And I want to give a shout out to my buddy Bill Tucker, who did all the MCU with me. He started his own podcast as a gamer looks at 4. You definitely go check him out. And this is the only thing we ever done on Hawkeye so far. So I have nothing else to comment about to loop in like I normally do, unfortunately.
But look forward to having this episode referenced in a future episode.
Yes, and I am thankful we finally got another Lost episode done. There's only 2 more Lost episodes left. One I'm purposely saving to episode 50, I think, and then one I don't know if I want to cover. So we shall see.
Fair enough.
All right, and we will see everybody next time. Bye, everybody.
Have a great day.
Bro.